watching Chopping It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
All right, good morning, everybody. We are back for another episode of Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Of course, I'm Perry White. He's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Coach Roger Cador. We're located live broadcasting this morning from the Roger Cador Baseball Fieldhouse on the campus of Southern University. My man, Garrett Edgerson, behind the scenes, making sure all the production side and everything is running good. And Coach, good morning to you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good morning. Good morning, neurosurgeon.
Good to be back here each and every Tuesday. And as we get rolling, man, first, it's been a week since the last time I saw you, but we talked. But how was your week?
My week was good. I was hoping we could beat the Rattlers. We weren't able to pull it off. The World Series has been outstanding. So it's been a lot of good things going on.
You hear Gary say, no, it hasn't, because obviously, when I hear that, I mean the Yankees must not be
No,
doing
the
too
Yankees.
high.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the Yankees are in trouble. They're not in the driver's seat right now.
So anytime I hear that, I know, oh, man, the Yankees must be in trouble. I got to ask you a question because yesterday during the SWAC coaches call, Mickey Joseph, who is the head football coach at Grambling State, made some comments about SWAC officials, and when they asked him to elaborate about his thoughts on it, he basically said it's bullshit, saying the call, saying the inconsistency. To hear a coach speak out like that, right? And we all know every conference typically has things in place to kind of go along that then comes with discipline in a coach, and it's typically fines and other things. But when you hear a coach speak out about the officiating, and you being a coach for 40 plus years, basketball, baseball, you've encountered plenty of officials in your time. And I'm pretty sure giving them an earful and then as well as giving them praise. But to hear a coach speak out like Coach Joseph up at Grambling, speaking out about the SWAC officials on a public forum during the SWAC coaches call and saying bullshit, what's your thought?
Well, he should be suspended. Have you seen the SEC officials? They're terrible too. I don't understand these coaches. These are the thing about officials are they are who they are. Now, the key is you get what you pay for, and we're at the bottom end of paying for the top flight officials. You got me? So it is what it is. Damn it, you play the game, you play against them other people. Official hadn't cost him them other 3 games he's lost in the conference. Am I correct?
He seems to think otherwise.
Oh, no. Listen, if you have your players start thinking that way, that's really a bad way to go.
And I can speak on that because, of course, I'm an official myself, and typically the type of coaches me personally, that I really dislike on the sideline are the coaches who blame everything on the officials.
That's right.
And then it turns into a point to where the coach is focused more on me and what I'm doing than what I'm thinking he's supposed to be doing in terms of coaching his team. And what happens is the players, like you just said, begin to hear that so much, then I'm starting to hear the players saying slick stuff to the officials.
Well, and they're going to try to find an excuse. They'll look for an excuse why they didn't make the play, why they didn't do their job, they missed their assignment. All of those things come into play. One thing I did with my players, I always told them, the officials are part of the game. Play the game. Do your job and let it take care of itself.
Yeah, and that's the best way forward to move forward. But any times that you throughout your coaching years where you had a crew and it was just like, even though you didn't want to put no blame, it was just like, come on, man, come on.
Yeah, I had to say that several times, but again, that only been a couple in my 30-some years of coaching, time where officials just really went out to just cheat. You understand what I'm saying?
So you've experienced that before?
Not that much.
But I'm saying at least once.
You're going to experience it.
Yeah.
We live in an imperfect world.
Yeah.
We live in a situation where you had to go into the Mississippis in the 70s and 80s, where they were going to cheat. That's really what was going to happen. But we found ways to win because we didn't look for blame and excuses.
Could you give me an experience, maybe that, like you said, one of those games that you can recall that stood out where it was like, this right here is unacceptable as officials?
Well, there's there are several, but I mean, I don't want to really go.
But it's experiences because I think it's
Yeah.
good for people to hear from a coaching side of when it does happen, and then for coaches who thinking it's happened, but you've experienced it with just blatantly it did happen.
Mississippi felt they were slighted, that Louisiana had an advantage over. And when you came to their hometown, they wanted to make sure you didn't get out of there with a victory. I mean, they really felt that they were dealt a second-hand treatment, and that's what they felt when they played schools from Louisiana. So a coach who coached at Jackson State told me they played Grambling when Prez was the coach. Said pitcher was throwing every pitch right down the heart of the plate. The umpire would say, ball. And it's a coach telling me this, a guy who played on that team. And he said that Prez said, son, don't worry about that. The umpire's having a bad day.
Yeah.
Just keep throwing. You know, now that's the way you do things with kids because you know what? Life is that way.
Yeah.
You know, just like I told you about that guy who went out in Chicago, tried for the team for 6 days. And the guy said, boy, you come back here, I'm gonna have you arrested or put you out the park. And then on the 7th day, he said, I'm gonna embarrass him. Put him in there, he hits the ball. And he said, oh, look at that Cuban run. So my point is, there are people who have intent that are not right. And they didn't just start it. It's been that way for a long time. So you got to find a way to overcome that kind of stuff.
It's dealing with adversity.
Adversity, that's the word I'm looking for.
You know, because the question was asked to me in terms of an official. And me being one myself, I try not to be so critical because I realize as an official, as coaches, as fans, each one of those groups watch the game from a different perspective.
That's right.
The fan is watching for the excitement of the ooh and ah, and they're typically watching wherever the ball goes.
Right.
And when the ball moves, they stop watching everything else that's happening. Coaches are looking for everything else in between, you know, how the play is being executed. They're watching the ball as well. And of course, they want everything to go their way. And then the official, you're watching the zone. And I tell this from the coaches and to the fans. What you're seeing is not necessarily what I'm seeing because somebody else's eyes are set to watch that.
That's right.
Where I'm at, especially as a side wing, I'm watching a certain zone, and if the ball don't come in my area, I don't see the ball.
Right.
I'm watching these guys because if you take your eyes off of these guys in this particular area, anything can happen. Chippy, out of the ordinary that nobody sees them. If you don't look, you'll look up and just catch two guys down the way scuffling and getting at it. So I think that's the main thing that people really have to watch out to is just there's different levels on how to watch the game. And each one of those levels, you're going to see something that somebody else didn't see because you're watching certain things.
Well, I remember a game we were playing against Tulane in New Orleans. Umpire was really bad. And when I say bad, he was bad not being honest, okay? So we got the lead. It's late in the game. My kids had played through adversity. And boy got to the 8th inning, and this guy said, I got to do something here. These guys look like they may beat Tulane. So he decided he was going to stop calling strikes. So my pitcher is really upset. I go to the mound, and he's crying, and I said, son, I know it's tough. I said, but you see this guy who is doing what he's doing to you all? He's the kind of guy that's going to get some innocent white people hurt. Because he's going to do it with some other black kids, and they're going to go hurt some white folks because of him. He caused other innocent white people to get hurt. And I left it at that. Because I wanted him to know what he was doing to my players. He may do to somebody else, and them guys going to teach their kids, go get somebody.
Oh, you said it loud enough for him to hear you.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Oh, okay.
He had to hear it. He had to hear it. He was right there on the mound. I wanted him to hear it. And I was hoping somebody in the stands could hear me. Because I was trying to get a message out there that, you know, you can't keep doing wrong to to innocent kids.
Yeah.
And think right is going to happen to white kids. You got me? I mean, those are the kind of stuff I wanted him to know. Let's do better than that, okay?
Yeah. Looking at baseball officials, the umpires, right? Typically, how many, for a collegiate level, what's the typical size of a crew that you normally have for you guys' game?
When I first started, it was 2, and I went to 3 and went to 4. So I think it's 3 now. Could be 4. Again, what is happening? A conference like the SWAC, who don't have the finances to hire, guys can go call in the SEC, make $6,000 a weekend. You make $1,000, $1,500 at best. If you make that in the SWAC, who you think you're gonna get? What now, I don't know what they get in football.
Yeah.
But I don't know, what do the SWAC officials get in baseball a weekend? $1,500 in baseball. So maybe one game they'll make football, maybe make $1,500 football.
Yeah, they're about in that same range, 15, 17.
Yeah, and they probably make $6,000 in the SEC. And my point is, who you think you're gonna get gonna be better? You might get a hard-working $1,500 guy, but he may not be astute on all of the rules and regulation and the things. You hadn't been in that position to make high-level calls.
Yeah, I had this conversation a couple weeks ago. So I'm 7 years in. Initially, when I started officiating, and of course, year 1, you basically learning the mechanics more so than the game. So they don't too much put you in the big game. You're working the clocks. The clock, working the clock, game clock, and play clock gives you an opportunity to continue to look on the field, and not only you learning the penalties, you're learning the flow of the game, and you're able to watch guys go through their mechanics. By year 2, year 3, now you're getting these games, and now you got to work on your mechanics. Early on, that's what took away the game for me. I was so busy worried about me and my mechanics. I was missing things in the game because I'm trying to make sure I look right. Well, of course, practice makes perfect. Once you begin to get the mechanics down, the game slows down because I'm not so worried about what I have to do. It comes natural, like riding a bike. Now I can focus on so much more within the game. And I had the conversation because I said, early on, because of that time, if it took me to kind of get familiar with what I needed to do and then what I needed to see, I wasn't taking it as serious. So, I was a little bit, kind of lax about things. But the more I've gotten into it, the more work I put into it, the more serious I have gotten about it, and I really follow it to the T now. And that's why I think the type of games that I've been getting deep into the playoffs and so much more, but I'm serious about it now, and it takes time to get to that point. It takes time to really get yourself to that level of saying, all right, this is serious, this is for real. More so in the beginning, you just kind of lackadaisical through it,
That's right.
Does that make sense?
Make a lot of sense.
It's like when you get a freshman and a sophomore into a program. By the time that kid is a junior and a senior, you see a difference in that kid in the mentality.
Yeah, you see a lot of difference. Yeah. Can we take a break for a minute?
Yeah, let's get ready to take a break, and we'll be back with more Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White.
Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient. They're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
Have a passion? we've got the place. Gear up for where the rubber meets the mud, or stir up memories of a lifetime. Reach new heights, gravitate towards something out of this world, even travel back in time. You might like a little drama in your life, or get in touch with your inner nature lover. Release some pent-up energy while you're at it. There's plenty to do beyond the swing sets. BRAC, we're more than a playground.
With over 60 years of combined experience, Kathy Sherburne and Anna Barnett bring a wealth of knowledge and excitement to the framing industry. Keeping strong to the Louisiana culture, Acadian Frame and Art has numerous local artists and sports team memorabilia for their customers to choose from. Whether you're creating a gallery-like setting in your office or simply looking for some fun art for your kids' playroom, Acadian Frame and Art is your one-stop picture framing spot. Call 225-927-6129 or go to www.acadianframe.com.
Get the memoir from the legendary baseball coach from Southern University, Roger Cador, Against All Odds. Roger refused to let his past dictate his future by rising to legendary college baseball status. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope. Against All Odds chronicles Coach Cador's determination to reach higher, to want more, and to dig deeper to find the courage to chase his dreams. Against All Odds. Get yours today by Cador & Cador Publishing. You are now watching Choppin' It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
With over 60 years of combined experience, Kathy Sherburne and Anna Barnett bring a wealth of knowledge and excitement to the framing industry. Keeping strong to the Louisiana culture, Acadian Frame and Art has numerous local artists and sports team memorabilia for their customers to choose from. Whether you're creating a gallery-like setting in your office or simply looking for some fun art for your kids' playroom, Acadian Frame and Art is your one-stop picture framing spot. Call 225-927-6129 or go to www.acadianframe.com.
Get the memoir from the legendary baseball coach from Southern University, Roger Cador, Against All Odds. Roger refused to let his past dictate his future by rising to legendary college baseball status. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope. Against All Odds chronicles Coach Cador's determination to reach higher, to want more, and to dig deeper to find the courage to chase his dreams. Against All Odds. Get yours today by Cador & Cador Publishing. You are now watching Choppin' It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
All right, we're back more Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Man, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Had to take a quick commercial break to pay some of the bills. Having conversations, you know, the big thing right now is we was talking about in that first segment, was talking about coaching etiquette. There's a certain thing to coaching etiquette, and I guess to go to coaching etiquette, I'm going to ask the same thing, because the same way, I guess, having respect for officiating, was there a coaching etiquette when it came for you to scores of blowing out teams, when it got to a certain point where you called the dogs off, or you say, hey, we're going to roll this into the last pitch?
Well, you know, you got to be careful, because we would take out our regular, put other guys in. What you tell them, lay down. I mean, that's the problem. Guys getting a chance to play, trying to make an impression. Mm-hmm. You think they're not going to try and show their best? You got me? So trying to roll up the score is one thing. Telling kids who finally getting a chance to play not to do their very best, you can't do that.
That's kind of a slippery slope, isn't it?
Slippery slope. So scores get rained up. Now, there have been times when I told guys, hey guys, listen, we just got to find a way to not score so many runs. We were beating Prairie View so bad, and I said, we got to find a way to end this.
Yeah. And it was still early in the game?
Well, it was, we were playing 7 innings. We were probably in the 4th or 5th inning.
Did you just start doing bunts, working on stuff?
No, I didn't.
No?
No, you don't want to do that.
Okay.
I did tell the umpire open the strike zone up. Now that I did, and I told my players, hey, I told the umpire open the strike zone up, so you be ready to swing. That I did do. Not a lot of coaches would do that. What good is it going to do us to score 40 runs?
Oh my God.
What good is it? And that was my thing. That's not what we do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I had a game this past week. I'm not going to name the schools. It was 55-0 at halftime. And it was kind of outmanned from one team to the other. So we went and looked in the rule book at halftime and was like, all right, let's try to see if we can find a rule to try to get away from this. Because clearly now you're starting to talk about the injuries that can occur.
Yes.
So we found in a rule, it was like, if both coaches came together and agreed mutually to end the game, then the game could be ended at halftime. So we went to one coach. He was kind of like, all right. The other coach was like, no, we score 100 on him. It is what it is, And so one coach said yeah, the other coach said no. So we had to roll it. The final score ended up being 79-0, 76-79-0. But and even as you said, the went all the way down into the depth chart of the roster. You couldn't stop those guys from finally getting that PT and saying, I'm ready to score, because they hardly ever get in the game.
That's right. And that was the problem. At the time when we were doing that, we had so many good players, and they didn't get to play in the very competitive games. You got me? So games that were not as competitive, they're getting a chance to show, Coach, I can do it too,
Yeah. And with that coaching etiquette, coaches can and do and will get upset. We saw this last year with the Saints, right? They asked Jameis Winston to go in and take a knee, and he didn't, and he ended up giving up a touchdown and, saying he did it for the guy, did it for the team and the morale. It was against the Falcons. But when you look at that sometime and that coach on the other side, is it like an unspoken rule to coaching etiquette? Is it supposed to be something that's genuinely honored and known amongst coaches?
I just think that there are some things that you take into consideration, that you don't want to show up your opponent. I mean, that's really what you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you can end the game in good grace, where you have the game under control, in it. That's really the best way to put it. You got me? A win is a win. And not to, I don't like it when people try to roll up the scores on people.
You ever had a coach try to do that to you?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe they did. I don't know. I never worried too much about that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. I was one of them guys, I had a short memory. Once the game is over with, it's over with. When we won or lost. Now, did I take some of them hard? Yes. Well, we might have lost a game we should have won,
I want to ask, because through your many years of journeyman as coach throughout the SWAC, what were some of the changes that the conference implemented during your time as a coach? Maybe it was scheduling, maybe it was whatever the case. What were some changes? How has the SWAC evolved from the early days of you playing, then as you coached for so long? What were certain changes to be where we at today?
Well, the change we made, we used to have, the first two teams on the East and West went to the conference tournament. So it was a short Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe. So it was a short weekend, or was it Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I know if you won 3 games, it was over.
Yeah, you punched the ticket.
You punched the ticket, yeah. So that was, to me, that was good, because now they have more competitive games. You didn't have to go to the bottom of the barrel to find that guy to pitch,
Was it single elimination during those times or double?
Double.
Okay.
So they changed it to make it 6 teams, and then they went to 8, then they went to 12. And they tell me the presidents wanted more teams in there. Well, they lowered the bar. They diluted the water. They made it wasn't this is why you ought to not have people who don't understand sport making decisions. You got me? Presidents ought to be presidents over the student body. Stay out of athletics. To bring all those teams in there made it more, you spend more money, and it diluted the competition. You got me?
And are you working the teams harder to the point to where whoever is the champion, when it's time to get to the tournament, they kind of had to exhaust themselves throughout a conference tournament?
That's right. You burn yourself. I mean, and coaches to win that tournament probably use that better pitcher more than they wanted. You got me? Probably bring him back in relief. He pitched day one. They might have used him in day three. You got me? So that's the kind of stuff, you know. But then we went from, I don't know if there was much other changes. You know, I can't remember all the other changes. I pretty much wanted things to stay the way we had it. I was pretty much consistent when it came to how do you play the conference tournament. I was okay with going to 6 teams.
Did they consult with you a lot? You know, because SEC coaches get together and they kind of talk about how they want things to project and how they want it to be moving forward. With you having the success and the networking ability that you have, was it like, hey, Coach Cador, what's your thoughts on this? Or getting you and the other coaches together saying, hey, moving forward,
That's so interesting. All the bottom of the barrel coaches were against me. They all were. I would sit in those meetings and look like it was, I don't know, 10, 12, how many coaches? 9 of them all against the coach. They'll get the coach. I'm in there. I'm not saying nothing. It's like, you ain't got that problem. You're at Southern. You don't have to have, we got to do this, do that. I had the same problem they did. I might have worked a little harder, but I had some of the same problems they had. Budget issues. I didn't have any advantage with the budget. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, many of them had more money in their budget than I did. You know, but no, they were in there, man. And you know how many days I used to just sit in there and smile and laugh. I said, "Can't believe this. I can't believe it."
Really, this is a story. These are the type of stories right here that, you never know.
You never know. You know, and it was like, whatever. I said, it doesn't matter. You still got to play the games. And that was my biggest issue. You still, excuse me, you still have to play the games. I said, we can't take that away. We're going to do it on the field. So whatever y'all can concoct and try to bring up, the games still have to be played.
So was it always seeming like there was trying to make an advantage to their point to make it seem like it'll give them a leg up over you no matter what it was?
Whatever it was, it just wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Because you have to play the games.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing I kept harping on. We still have to play the games. Let's forget about all this other stuff. Let's put a schedule in place where we're going to play the games. You got me?
So it sounds like the camaraderie as coaches within the league wasn't quite there but maybe it was all together against you.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I would listen and I never said much in the meeting. I never said much. I didn't. If they didn't ask me anything, I said nothing. Because I didn't want to create any more animosity. You got me? So I let them roll with what they had. Roll with it. But darn it, we still have to play the game.
Yeah.
That was my one thing. We have to play the game.
Let me ask you this. With SWAC commissioners, how many SWAC commissioners did you have throughout your tenure of being commissioners of this conference?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably 6 or 7.
Yeah.
One of them, Robert Vowles. You remember that name?
No, I don't at all.
And later on in my career, when they started getting younger coaches into the SWAC, I would talk to them because I said, they need information. And I told them about recruiting. And Robert Vowles found out. And he called me. He said, why would you give away your secret on how to win? I said, why wouldn't I? I said, I'm going to give you something, Mr. Biles. And it's in the Bible. And Jesus was talking to the Sadducees and the Pharisees. Said how disappointed it is to have something of value and not share it with others. I said, that's in the Bible. If you have something of value, you ought to share it with others. And I said, at the end of the day, they still got to beat me. But I shared with them. And one of the guys who used to sing my praises is your homeboy, Carlos James. He would say, Coach Cador gave me all the secrets about how to win. He didn't keep them. Mike Robertson, Texas Southern. There was another guy, Grambling, a young guy there. And other young guys, I told them how to win. Why? Why would you do that? I had something they didn't have. That information was in the Bible. If you got something of value, share it with others.
And it strengthens the conference. It makes the conference better, doesn't it? You just don't want one team top heavy.
And I also told them that. It's bad for us to win every year and nobody else. I say it's not good for Southern to win every year.
And people would think that's crazy to say, wouldn't it?
No. Well, if we could go pull the recording up somewhere, I did say it. I think it was on Channel 2 or Channel 9, and I said, it's not good for Southern to win every year. It's not good for the league. It's bad. You know what I'm saying? And I said that around 2004. I think it was around that time. I said, we have been winning and winning. And I said, it's not good. Other people need to win too. It's good for the league. You got me? Most people, again,
So
I
that
was a little
commissioner,
different. Robert Biles?
yeah, he was not pleased with you sharing your
Well,
secret.
I'm not going to say he wasn't pleased. He was just confused. He was baffled. He was selfish.
Yeah.
He wouldn't share information with someone if he had it. That's what he was telling me. He wanted to know, why would I share information to help them guys successful, to beat me? I wasn't even thinking that way. You got me?
Yeah.
And if my wife was alive today, she would be singing my praise about that. She said that was the right thing to do. She was saying, this is the right thing to do, help them younger people. She was big, and she told me I would, that I would help people, a lot of people, and so.
And then with the SWAC tournament, the baseball tournament, right? It's in Atlanta. I've seen it in New Orleans. It's kind of been all over the place. What was that like over the years with the tournament? How has that transitioned to what it is today in Atlanta compared to in those early days of playing that tournament?
Yeah, it's better now. We played in Alexandria, Natchez, Mississippi, Jackson. Oh my goodness, played so many places.
So they just been jumping and shopping it all around.
Yeah, but we've had some great tournaments now. Great tournaments in Natchez, Mississippi. Some of the better tournaments were in Natchez, Mississippi. It was good. The games were good. The people had a great time, and that's the most important. The fans enjoyed themselves, and the games were competitive.
Yeah.
They were competitive. Grambling was good. Jackson was good. Alcorn was good. Texas Southern was good. We had a lot of good teams in there, And so we had to play. We had to play. And you know what's so beautiful about my players I love?
What's that?
We had to come out of the losers bracket on a couple of occasions to win that thing.
Yeah. Started off a little slow.
Well, lose game one.
Yeah.
It's hard to lose game one and win. And we did it.
Because you get those horrible time slots. You may have a late game and come back with an early game. Yeah.
And you burn pitches up.
Yeah.
I remember, we in 2007, Rich Woodfield and Alabama, Birmingham. We lost game 1 to Prairie View. God, we lost game 1. And it was a tough situation. And that's when we had to end up, we had to fight our way back. We had a guy who pitched a hell of a game for us, had only pitched an inning or two the most all year, and he was a reliever. And we brought him in relief around the 6th inning, and he pitched through the 15th inning. That's when we were playing until 1 o'clock in the morning. Woo! The game was going on. And they had some shooting that took place on the outside of the park in Richwood Field. And finally, we beat Prairie View, the team that had knocked us off. Mm-hmm. And we won that. We didn't leave that place the next morning until 8 o'clock.
That's exhausting.
It was exhausting. My catcher, Brandon Mason, he had caught all 15 innings. And in the 15th inning, he hit a triple to lead off the inning. And he barely made it to third base. And then we finally won the game. And the thing about that was, most teams would have given up.
Yeah, exhausted.
Prairie View was pretty doing good. They had us where they wanted us, beat us in game 1, forced us to burn up pitchers. We had to pitch pitchers who hadn't pitched a lot. We had 2 pitchers who hadn't pitched a lot, but they gave us quality innings. Mm-hmm. And Mike Robertson, the coach, said, I knew we were in trouble. He said, because you had more arms than we did.
Yeah.
He said, you had more arms, and that's the key. And he said, now I know why you told me. If we're going to win, we need to have arms. See, he was one of the guys I gave the information to.
That's valuable information, especially because you never know the depth of how deep this game goes. You said 1 in the morning, exhaustion, lack of focus starts to kick in. So you got to continue to go to that bullpen to find guys to keep a fresh mindset, a fresh arm out there.
That's right.
You like it now in Atlanta, this seems to be the base of where you think it can be successful at now?
Well, they tell me they're moving it back to Richwood. So we've just jumped all over the place, so I don't know.
What's Richwood?
Richwood is in Birmingham. That's the oldest Negro League, oldest stadium in America.
Okay. Didn't they just play an MLB game there?
They redid it, and so that's why the SWAC want to go back over there. So we're going to go back to Richwood. That's what the word on the streets is.
Yeah.
I have not spoken with Dr. McClellan. He have not given me the okay, the word, but that's what the word on the street is.
And you call the SWAC tournaments since they've been in Atlanta. What's your thoughts on the turnout? Does the city of Atlanta seems to be supportive of that SWAC base, considering there's no SWAC teams in the state of Georgia?
No, it's the people came out there pretty good. Mm-hmm. I think they would come out just as good in Atlanta as they would in Alabama. Yeah. Alabama is just a tough situation. People got places they can go in Atlanta, things they could do. Mm-hmm. Birmingham is a little more difficult, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's going to be challenging. Maybe the commissioner has something that he's going to do that will attract more kids. You know, if I was younger, I could do more to help do some stuff. But them days have passed me by where I could do, because I know I could do some stuff. But it's going to take work.
The stadium where it was at, and at the same time, New Orleans is a destination spot, you know.
No, I think New Orleans was okay, and it's pretty geographically fit most of the schools. You got me?
And that's the other thing. The SWAC is so spaced out. Imagine from Prairie View to Daytona Beach, then go all the way up to Huntsville. I mean, Arkansas within itself, UAPB is isolated. Then Prairie View and Texas Southern seem to be isolated. The core of the conference is pretty much Mississippi, Alabama, and then Louisiana. But those others, you got that outer perimeter. They all spaced out. I mean, that's the other tough thing, to where getting fans and trying to find that location where fans could all come down and support their teams.
You almost, The SWAC had to expand. They needed to expand. They need to expand again, to be honest with you.
If they expanded again, what teams would you?
Well, you
look
got
at?
to go into North Carolina and Virginia.
Really?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So like a North Carolina Central,
North Carolina State.
a Norfolk State.
Yeah. You almost, and you're going to have to split it. You're going to have, then you have a real East and West. But it's going to cost money.
So you talking about like a HBCU super conference?
Almost have to do it.
Really?
That's the only way you're going to keep attracting new fans.
Let's have this call. That's interesting because I've had this conversation with somebody before, and they were saying, the MEAC and the SWAC should merge together to form this super conference and do it in like pods or regions in order to grow it, because you're looking at the transition of the athletic world around us. Basically what the Big Ten did. It gobbled up everybody from the East Coast and the West Coast. The SEC is starting to do the same thing across the South.
That's why they did it. You got to attract new fans. And they wanted media outlet, because the media will help sell your product. You got
the
me?
Big Ten has all the major markets
You got
from New York to Chicago, Detroit, all the way over to LA.
You got to do it to help sell your product.
Yeah.
You can't do it all on by yourself. In the world we live in, people are mobile. They're very mobile. They move, so you got to do it. So I say you almost got to get some teams from the people on the East Coast are they're progressive.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say more progressive. They're progressive.
I get exactly what you're saying, yeah.
You got to go. I'm telling you, I've been looking at this thing and looking at it and saying, well, I'm not in a position to make any decision, but
you can spark the conversation.
Well, maybe I can. Yeah. And the thing about it is, you have to do something different to grow it.
Because the conversation right now is Tennessee State and North Carolina A&T are looking to move into the MEAC. Of course, A&T left. They're in the CAA. Tennessee State is in Ohio Valley, but they're looking to move over to the MEAC for football purposes, which I thought was very interesting for Tennessee State. For so many years, had been out of an HBCU conference, but I mean, you look at that whole East Coast. So the MEAC goes all the way from Delaware all the way down to South Carolina, from South Carolina State to Delaware State. Then in between, Morgan State, Norfolk State, you got
a lot
North
of
Carolina
people.
Central, yeah.
The majority of the people are on the East Coast.
And you got some major markets there, D.C., Baltimore.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. You got to be able to be progressive in your thinking. Even if it don't work, you got to think it.
Yeah. Tennessee State brings in Nashville.
The Ohio players said, I'm going to be ready even if I don't get to go. Maybe the neurosurgeon could tell me if they were the one that said, I'm going to be ready even if I don't get to go. He ain't said that. He's a musician. But my thing is, you have to be ready.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get to go, you got to be ready. You got me?
You got to have those plans of transition.
You got to have them.
Yeah.
You got to put them in, have the conversation, put them on paper, have conversation, talk to people, do Zoom calls. Let's see where we can go with that.
I like that idea. This is one of the things where people have said I have been critical of the conference. And one of the reasons where my conversation when it comes to the SWAC, I'm always looking at what are we going to be 10 years from now?
That's right.
What are we going to be 15 years from now when we look back at it? Yeah. Consistently, it seems, although we have expanded with Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M, it just seems like we're still moving in the same trajectory. It does not seem like anything different to open us up to a new realm as I'm watching the world around us evolve.
You didn't have big markets with Cookman and FAMU.
No, Daytona and Tallahassee.
You didn't have big markets. If you venture a little more into the Carolinas and Virginia, up along that eastern seaboard, the majority of the people are on the East Coast, and the people have money over there, and they're progressive in their thinking, proactive. And this would give them a challenge that they've been saying for years. We're better than this way. Mm-hmm. Well, this will give them a chance to prove it.
Yeah.
You got me? This would be something now they can come. They would come and travel. maybe not like Southern Travels.
No, nobody gonna. You got
You know.
a handful of teams that would do
But
that.
you would do, my thing would do the football and basketball, and then you find a way to work all them other sports.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You make them, those two main sports, play all of them in the
You can keep everything else kind of regional.
regional. Keep
Yeah,
them regional.
but for your main big time sports, you got to put them in that market.
You got to put them in that market.
Because that East Coast, they love basketball.
Love basketball, which would help basketball.
Yeah.
And then football will carry itself. You got me? So I think that's where you make it, and you let you do what the MEAC did when they only had 5 teams for baseball. They let them play in another conference so they could have a schedule.
Yeah.
You could make this work. It could work. You just got to get creative, and you got to convince people who won't get out of the mud or
The old way of thinking.
the old way of thinking.
Yeah.
The old way of thinking is not all bad, but we've got to do better.
You know what turns into the issue? When you get a younger generation like myself, and I get a chance to talk to a seasoned generation like yourself, you're progressive and open to the evolution because you have dealt with evolution of years and years as a coach to keep up with the times. The problem is when you get a younger generation begin to say and talk about the older way, they turn it off because they say you don't know what you're talking about or it don't make sense, and they write you off. And unfortunately, that happens so much in our realm, especially with black colleges, where there's a younger generation, but there's an older generation that I call the gatekeepers, act like we don't know what we're talking about. We ain't put enough skin in the game, and they don't want to listen. It don't make sense because it kind of go over their head.
It goes over their head, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the commissioner would love to do that, but he's got to convince presidents.
Yeah.
He's got presidents that he's got to convince, and they may not be on board with the idea, or may not. They don't surround themselves with the right kind of people who think, who will say to the president, Mr. President, you have to listen to this idea.
Yeah.
A president needs someone who will stand up to him and say, you need to listen to it. You don't have to do it, but listen to it. You got me? This is a proposal. Let's listen to it. Let's examine it, Mr. President. You know, I mean, those are the kind of things. But so many people surround themselves with yes men and yes women. It ain't going to never work if you do that. You know, the beautiful thing is I have this experience with Major League Baseball. And it's such a beautiful experience because they let people bring the idea to the table. We look at it and examine it and dissect it. You know what I'm saying? And see if it got a chance to work. And there are young people that they're allowed to be a part of this process. You got me? Now, I'm not talking about with Commissioner Manfred, not at that level, but at lower level, you know, that they're doing things that they know you need input. They bring in people, want to know people. I mean, there are people, when I see them walk through this, what the hell he's doing in here? But God's son got good idea, you got me? You know, so you got to be careful, you got me? But that's what they do. They allow people to walk in that door and put ideas on the table. And then they look at it, dissect it, and figure out if it could work, that wheel will turn over here in Major League Baseball. That's what's so beautiful, you know. I didn't come out of a system here where people could put stuff at you and you try to figure out if it could work, you know. It's an interesting scenario.
It is. Let's get ready to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get ready to close things out. So stay tuned. We'll be back with more Chop It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White.
Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient. They're always one step ahead rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
Have a passion? We've got the place. Gear up for where the rubber meets the mud, or stir up memories of a lifetime. Reach new heights, gravitate towards something out of this world, even travel back in time. You might like a little drama in your life, or get in touch with your inner nature lover. Release some pent-up energy while you're at it. There's plenty to do beyond the swing sets. Breck, we're more than a playground.
With over 60 years of combined experience, Kathy Sherburne and Anna Barnett bring a wealth of knowledge and excitement to the framing industry. Keeping strong to the Louisiana culture, Acadian Frame and Art has numerous local artists and sports team memorabilia for their customers to choose from. Whether you're creating a gallery-like setting in your office or simply looking for some fun art for your kids' playroom, Acadian Frame and Art is your one-stop picture framing spot. Call 225-927-6129 or go to www.acadianframe.com.
Get the memoir from the legendary baseball coach from Southern University, Roger Cador. Against all odds, Roger refused to let his past dictate his future by rising to legendary college baseball status. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope. Against all odds chronicles Coach Cador's determination to reach higher, to want more, and to dig deeper to find the courage to chase his dreams. Against all odds, get yours today by Cador & Cador Publishing. You are now watching Choppin' It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
All right, we're back more Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. I'm Perry White, of course, my man, Coach Roger Cador. Before we get ready to get out of here, the World Series underway, Dodgers, LA versus the Yankees, New York, East Coast, West Coast. Dodgers up 3-0 in the series right now. Game 4 is going to be at 7:08 tonight on Fox, man. It's looking a little bleak for the Yankees, isn't it?
But the game has really attracted a lot of viewers worldwide. I think the Commissioner Manfred said 90 million to 100 million people in Japan watch the World Series. That's just Japan.
Yeah.
He hadn't gotten into China, Australia, Korea, Europe, the U.S., South America, Central America, Latin America, Brazil. Can you imagine? The game is growing. And it's growing because the influx of young talent and international players. That's why it's going.
Then you look at the big names with Judge and Altani, man. I mean, that pretty much creates something within itself.
It does. Tonic for sure. You see, he brought that Asian group in. He brought that Asian market. That's why the Dodgers wasn't afraid to pay him, give him $700 million. They knew they were going to make it back. You know what I mean? They paid almost $1 billion for 2 players from Japan. They gave $900 million for 2 players from Japan because they got that Asian market now. And that's what they wanted to capture.
Tonight's game going to be in the Bronx, so the Yankees going to have an opportunity. ESPN right now has the Yankees at a 53.9% chance of winning. So I don't think nobody think they're just going to get swept out of there. They're going to be able to hold it down tonight. What's your thing? You think they get swept out of there or they get that one tonight?
I don't know what's going to happen.
I would ask Gary, but he's going to say they're going to get that one tonight.
Well, I hope they do it for Gary. He's been good. He's been good to us, so we want him to be happy. The worst thing, I don't want that man to not be happy. And he walk out and leave us alone. We in trouble.
That is it. Game 2. If there needs to be another game, if the Yankees win tonight, Game 5, if necessary, will be on Wednesday to still be in New York. So I'll be looking forward to that as the World Series continues to roll on. Football is still rolling on as we heading into November. We're at the end of October. We'll be in November on Friday, and so as we roll on, man, look, it's all the fall is getting before we know it, Coach. It'll be December.
We're almost there.
Man, and the weather's still great to be this time of year.
It's really good. Let's keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
Yes, sir. Keeping it rolling, man. And I hope you guys will continue to roll with us and enjoy what we do. Everybody, we appreciate you for watching. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel, of course, go hit that subscribe button. We would love to have you to be a subscriber, get that notification every time we go live. And it gives you the ability and the opportunity to share this to whoever, whenever, whether you catch it live or you watch the broadcast after the fact. And everybody watching on Facebook, man, on Roger Cador's, Coach Cador's page. We appreciate you. And funny thing is, we here in the Roger Cador Baseball Fieldhouse on the campus of Southern University. Along the outfield line are some huge pine trees. Coach Cador was just standing there. He looked up and he said, man, I remember when I planted those things, you know. And so now, if you ever showed up and you looked in the outfield and you saw how big those pine trees, it has to let you know, man, that had to be some time ago when you planted those trees.
Oh, my goodness. You know, well, that's what happens. You know, you do things.
Yeah.
You plant stuff. And I told a story once at MLB. I was speaking to a bunch of young kids, and well, I told them a different story, but then they had me talk to all the coaches that they brought in, and I told them a story at the Jackie Robinson complex in Vero Beach, MLB, Dodger Town it used to be, and I said, you see that tree? Many, many years ago, someone planted that tree. So we could have shade today. And that caught the attention of people because that tree was providing a lot of shade. But somebody thought about it. Many years ago, they planted it, and today it's providing shade. So that must have been 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. But it provided shade for us today. So it wasn't that long when I planted them. It's probably 30-some years when I planted those trees. And it's providing a lot of shade for people, you know, and it gives people hit it in the pine. It protects the building.
Well, you planted this building, you planted that stadium, you planted them trees, you planted success here, man. You planted a lot, which is why I think you're in more Hall of Fames than I can count. Full of trophies, full of accolades, and people still have the respect for that you have, and most importantly, planting the seeds in young men, turning them into be successful men in life, whether it's on the field, off the field. Nonetheless, you planted a lot, and it was more than just them trees. You've done a lot when it comes to talking about planting.
Well, I appreciate you, and I try to do the right thing.
That's all that matters, Coach, and I appreciate you. And once again, everybody, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's show. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, and hit that follow button and like button on our Facebook as you're watching on Coach Roger Cador's page. And I appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week if the Lord says the same. So, Coach, get us out of here. Catch y'all next week.
Get the memoir from the legendary baseball coach from Southern University, Roger Cador, Against